I recognize the significance of today's hearing being held on the 39th anniversary of the creation of the Occupational Safety and Health Administration, OSHA, and Workers' Memorial Day. Today is a day set aside to recognize workers killed, disabled, injured, or sickened by their work. And today we meet under the shadow of three recent tragedies: the loss of 29 miners in West Virginia, 70 refinery workers in Washington State, and the 11 workers still missing from the Deepwater Horizon. Now more than ever is the time to think seriously and act courageously to ensure that OSHA has the tools it needs to enforce safe working conditions, and that this government provides workers and the victims the tools they need to help ensure those safe working conditions. Secretary Solis's vision for the Department of Labor is good jobs for everyone. Good jobs are safe jobs, but American workers still face unacceptable hazards. The administration supports the Protecting America's Workers Act, which would make meaningful, substantial, and long overdue statutory changes in the Occupational Safety and Health Act, providing OSHA with important tools to strengthen and expand its enforcement programs. Two of the critical tools included in PAWA are the enhanced whistleblower protections and increased victims' rights. OSHA inspectors are not able to visit more than a small fraction of this nation's workplaces. The OSHA Act therefore relies heavily on workers to help identify hazards at their workplaces. The authors of the OSHA Act realize that employees are not likely to participate in safety and health activities if they fear they'll lose their jobs. That's why Congress wrote 11C to protect employees from discrimination and retaliation when they report safety and health hazards or exercise other rights under the OSHA Act. Without robust whistleblower protection, these voices may be silenced. PAWA would strengthen 11C by providing workers with basic rights that other, more recent whistleblower laws passed with broad bipartisan support have provided workers. PAWA would better protect a worker's right to participate in making those working conditions safer by providing workers with a private right of action, an important element that is lacking in OSHA's current 11C provision. We believe it's critically important that if an employer fails to comply with an order providing relief, both OSHA and the worker should be able to file a civil action. PAWA will also grant workers the right to further pursue their case if OSHA does not proceed in a timely fashion, codify a worker's right to refuse to perform unsafe work, protect employees who refuse work because they fear harm to other workers, prohibit employer policies that discourage workers from reporting illnesses or injuries, and prohibit employer retaliation against employees for reporting injuries or illnesses. PAWA would also increase the existing 30-day deadline for filing an 11C complaint to 180 days. Over the years, many complainants who might otherwise have had a strong case for retaliation have been denied protection simply because they did not file within the 30-day deadline. Finally, PAWA would codify a number of OSHA's high standards for professionalism and transparency in conducting whistleblower investigations that are of critical importance to this administration. For example, PAWA requires OSHA to interview complainants and to provide them with a respondent's response and the evidence supporting the respondent's position. PAWA affords complainants the opportunity to meet with OSHA and to rebut the employer's statements or evidence. Turning to victims' rights, OSHA has long known that workers and often their family can serve as OSHA's eyes and ears identifying workplace hazards. Injured workers and their family often provide useful information to investigators because employees frequently discuss work activities and coworkers with family members. I want to thank Tanya Ford, whose uncle Robert Fitch was killed at Archer's Daniel Midland on January 29, 2009, for coming to Washington today to testify and describe the tragic circumstances of Mr. Fitch's death and the unnecessary problems that she and her family faced getting information about what happened. We appreciate her suggestions on how to improve our enforcement proceedings to better involve victims and their families. It's OSHA's policy to talk to families during the investigation process and inform them about our citation procedures and settlements. Families are normally provided a copy of the citations when issued. We found, however, that some of OSHA's policies on victims' rights have not always been implemented consistently and in a timely manner. It's also clear that a letter is not adequate. Therefore, we'll be strengthening those policies by putting them into a directive and adding them to the Field Operations Manual. We'll also be instructing our area directors to call the family to express condolences, advise that a letter is coming, and assure families that we'll be staying in contact. In addition, we'll be appointing family liaisons in every one of OSHA's 70 area offices. In general, OSHA supports the changes in PAWA for victims and their family. Our only concern is that we find a way to both fully ensure family and victim participation without unduly burdening or lengthening the enforcement process. Madam Chair, I appreciate the opportunity today to discuss PAWA and how it would improve whistleblower protections and victims' rights. I believe stronger whistleblower protections and more substantial rights for victims and their families can lead to safer job sites and ultimately more men and women who go home safely to their families at the end of the day. I'd be happy to answer your questions.